Across the world, August 31st is considered Overdose Awareness Day, and tonight community members gathered in downtown Dayton for an event to share resources and remember those who have lost their lives due to substance abuse. Lydia Bice was there. So what kind of resources were available for community members?
This event, which was presented by Public Health Dayton and Montgomery County's Community Overdose Action Team, featured free harm reduction resources and prevention and recovery services. Now, there were numerous treatment centers and other organizations that assist in preventing substance abuse present at the event, with tables set up handing out information. Montgomery County Sheriff Rob Streck told me that he hopes an event like this could help save someone's life.
So an event like this hopefully lets people know that it's still a major issue in our community, and for those who are struggling, hopefully they'll be able to come out here, find some information where maybe they'll be able to change their life.
Now, this day also serves as a reminder of the tragic consequences of addiction. And besides providing resources to those struggling with addiction, the other purpose of tonight's event was also to honor the lives lost. And substance abuse does not discriminate.
I want the general public to know that, especially with opiates, it does not care where you live. It doesn't care what kind of socioeconomic status that you have.
One speaker at the beginning of today's event said this: "We must remember drug overdoses are preventable and recovery is possible. Every life is valuable." Now, like I said, there were numerous local organizations in attendance today, and if you or someone you know would like to learn more about their resources, I have put links to their websites or social media pages in this web story on Dayton247now.com.
Well, you may remember this video from earlier in the year shows a controversial arrest outside of Butler Township McDonald's. In the video, Officer Todd Stanley is seen repeatedly hitting a woman. He's since been charged with assault. Today, Stanley's trial began in Vandalia Municipal Court. And on the first day, the victim in this case, Latika Hancock, took the stand. She says everything started as a disagreement over a wrong order, and the police were called after an argument over a slice of cheese on a sandwich. That all escalated. Hancock says she was hit after getting conflicting directions from responding officers.
I was still, in their eyes, resisting arrest when all I was saying is, why? Over a sandwich. I felt like I was attacked. I felt scared for my life.
Now, following the incident and release of the body camera video, Officer Stanley was placed on administrative leave. He's pled not guilty to all of the charges. Now, the Dayton unit of the NAACP, meanwhile, announcing the city of Dayton has reached a $45,000 settlement with a man following his arrest in 2020. Jack Runser is deaf and lives with cerebral palsy, and in December of 2020, he was handcuffed and placed in the back of a cruiser and injured in the process. A police report showed Runser ignored officers' instructions and seemed aggressive. However, he says he was unable to communicate with the officers because of his disabilities. In a statement, the NAACP, who represented him, called the settlement, quote, another victory on behalf of all Daytonians. Well, two people were taken into custody after doing donuts and crashing a stolen car at a local high school. Abby Forbes has been speaking with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and Meadowdale High School about what happened. She walks us through what these students and staff saw.
I'm told that Meadowdale football and cheerleading practice took a turn yesterday when a stolen car crashed into their practice around 5 p.m. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office tells me that students were practicing when a car sped onto the field, proceeded to do donuts before crashing into two other cars in the school's parking lot. After the crash, two individuals fled from the car, but the staff and students were able to catch them until deputies arrived.
To hear that we had to have our students chase down these individuals, because that can always be dangerous. But it just kind of shows you once again how people are fed up with what's going on.
The Sheriff's Office shared that they're looking at grand theft auto, driving without a license, among other charges. And the school shared that these two individuals are students and they are looking into disciplinary measures based on the students' code of conduct. Back to you.
Now to Tropical Storm Idalia. The deadly storm made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. 3 people have been confirmed dead from that storm. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is on the ground surveying the damage left behind. Roughly 5,500 National Guardsmen have been deployed to help clear the roads and search for people in distress. Utility crews are also working to restore power to an estimated 140,000 people. Governor DeSantis says the damage in the state has been minimal, applauding those who prepared beforehand.
Also, this forecast turned out to be accurate. It had been eyeing the Big Bend many days ago, and that's what ended up happening. So I think people, particularly in this area, who were in the way of a potential significant storm surge, they did take the proper precautions.
Now, federal and state officials say they're still calculating the cost of damages. Estimates from Moody Analytics say recovery could cost between $12 and $20 billion. The White House says President Biden is directing staff to do everything possible to accelerate recovery wherever people are impacted by the extreme weather. That includes Idalia-hit states and the devastating wildfires in Maui. The White House Homeland Security Advisor says Biden is focused on getting people back on their feet.
For example, yesterday when we were briefing him with respect to Maui, he was very focused on the opening of the school year and how the kids of Lahaina don't necessarily have schools they'll be able to attend, and what can we do using federal resources from the Department of Education to support the local community.
The president scheduled to visit Florida on Saturday to see the damage from Idalia firsthand. Crews from the Miami Valley, they're on the ground in our southern states, and others are on their way. Spirit Medical Transport is a Greenville-based private ambulance company. It announced today 5 ambulances and 10 crew members, along with medical supplies, arrived down south. Right now, they're being activated for 14 days, but that could change as the situation evolves. Crews say they'll stay as long as needed. And also new information, Ohio Task Force 1 has received orders to come home after being deployed to aid in the recovery. The 47-person team landed in Atlanta on Tuesday and prepared for their mission. The team is expected to arrive back in Vandalia tomorrow night. All right, switching to weather now. We are on the eve of the weekend, and things are starting to get a little warmer.
Yeah, it's been nice while it lasted.
Yeah, it was. Nice taste of fall.
A beautiful weather over these past few days, but we have a big warm up on the way. Climbing temperatures in the forecast. So right now it's pretty cool. It's going to be a cool night still. We have 55 Urbana, 55 Wapakoneta, 60 currently in Dayton, which is certainly cooler for this time of the year, but compared to this time yesterday, we're actually sitting a little bit warmer, and that's going to continue to be the case. So we're 2 degrees warmer in Dayton, 3 degrees warmer in Springfield, and heading into the day tomorrow, kids heading to the bus stop will be in the 50s in the morning, so maybe needing a light sweater, but mid 80s by the afternoon. So it definitely won't be coming in handy later into the day, but I'll have a look at the rest of the week, talk about when we could see some 90s coming up.
Natalie, thanks. For the first time since the deadly school bus crash in Clark County, we're hearing from the family of the victim, Aiden Clark. Now, in a statement, they write, quote, "We are grateful for the thoughts and prayers directed to our family in this very difficult time. The show of support over the last several days, especially from those who knew our son, has been especially heartwarming. Words cannot describe the heartache and emptiness that we feel knowing he is no longer with us. The past days have been extremely difficult for our family, and we ask everyone, including media, friends, and others, to respect our privacy and provide us time to grieve our loss." Now, 11-year-old Aiden was one of 52 students on a Northwestern School District bus. When it crashed, Aiden was ejected from that bus and killed. 23 others were hurt. Investigators say the bus crashed after a minivan went into the wrong lane, hitting that bus. Now, the man accused of being behind the wheel, 42-year-old Hermanio Joseph, is charged with involuntary manslaughter and vehicular homicide. After the crash, Ohio State Highway Patrol officials said he did not have an Ohio driver's license and instead only had a Mexico license, which isn't valid due to his immigration status. Joseph has pled not guilty. He's currently being held in the Clark County Jail on a $100,000 bond. In the days since that crash, officials have tried to take steps to prevent other tragedies on school buses. This includes possibly putting seatbelts on all buses, something that is not required by law in the state. Yesterday, Governor Mike DeWine launched a school bus work group to discuss and find ways to make transportation even safer for students. In the meantime, an account has been established for anyone looking to help the Clark family. We included the information there on your screen. Checks can be made out to Fidelity FBO, Nathan and Danielle Clark, and mailed to P.O. Box 37 in Northampton. Well, bus drivers in one of the largest districts in the state are going on strike. Drivers who service the Lakota School District in Butler County voting earlier tonight after months of negotiations. Tyler Madden tells us what this will mean for thousands of kids in that district.
In an overwhelming vote of 94% voted no, and we will be on strike come morning.
President of the Teamsters Local 100, Bill Davis, says the main sticking point for the drivers in negotiations is technology and the use of cameras on buses. The union has been in talks with Peterman Bus over the last few months and says that's been an issue since day one. Earlier this week, Lakota Schools asking families in a letter to make plans ahead of the vote. The strike will impact all bus services for kids in kindergarten to 9th grade.
We're just doing the best we can to plan as well as we can in advance and have a couple different backup plans.
Every one of my drivers and monitors back here care deeply about the kids that they transport on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, they have families and they have kids as well.
Lakota Schools Interim Superintendent Dr. Elizabeth Lowley saying in a statement tonight, quote, "We are extremely disappointed with this outcome and the impact it will have on our students and families. This is an unexpected and unfortunate turn of events and one that we hope will be resolved quickly." I'm Tyler Madden reporting.
Former President Trump pleading not guilty in court for a fourth time. What we're learning about his trial and why his lawyers argue the timing of the trial is unfair. Also, a woman saved by the CPR training she set up at work. How the employee jumped into action to save her coworker.
And climbing temperatures in the forecast too. I'm tracking some summer heat that's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Former President Donald Trump pleading not guilty in the Georgia election subversion case. He entered the plea through court filings instead of being arraigned in person. Now, his current trial date is set for October 23rd. His attorneys are arguing that going to court that soon would violate his federal and state constitutional rights to a fair trial. Now, he's charged with racketeering in connection with alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in that state. Now, Trump's case will be televised. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, all court proceedings with Trump and his 18 co-defendants will be broadcast live on the Fulton County Court YouTube channel. Computers and phones will be allowed in the courtroom, but not for recording purposes. Just a day after appearing to freeze during a news conference, Senator Mitch McConnell has been given the all-clear by a Capitol physician to continue work. Yesterday marked the second time that this has happened in the last few months. Now, the doctor who treated him said he's experiencing lightheadedness from a concussion he suffered back in March. President Biden sharing his thoughts today.
It's not at all unusual to have the response that sometimes happens to Mitch when you've had a severe concussion. It's part of the recovery. And so I'm confident he's going to be back to his old self.
The 81-year-old senator is pledging to lead the GOP caucus in Washington through the end of next year. He has not answered questions on if he'll seek re-election when his current term expires.
Well, heat is in the forecast as we head into this weekend. Next week, summer-like weather does return to our area. It is the last day of meteorological summer, and as we start meteorological fall, it turns up the heat. Here's a look at what we're expecting. So we had that heat dome last week. We had heat and humidity. Same trend for next week. In fact, this slides a little bit more eastward, so highs expected to climb into the 90s. Now, thankfully, humidity doesn't look unbearable at this point, but it is something we'll monitor. But heading into tonight, though, enjoy it while it's here. We have 50s overnight. Tomorrow, though, back into the low to mid 80s. And then by Saturday, we start out a little bit warmer. Saturday afternoon, upper 80s return to the forecast, and eventually those 90s. I'll have more on that coming up in just a bit.
Tomorrow, Blendon Township officials are expected to release body camera video of a deadly shooting involving police and a pregnant Central Ohio woman. 21-year-old Takaya Young was shot at a local Kroger there. Officers were called there after Young was accused of stealing alcohol. Police say she was driving toward them in the parking lot when they fired the deadly shots. Now, no officers were hurt, but Young's unborn child did not survive. This man will spend the next 2 years in prison after being sentenced for child abuse charges. Richard King pled guilty to strangling a 4-year-old girl. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office says when this happened, King had active parole warrants for felony domestic violence and abduction convictions. Now, this incident happened on the same day Ohio's strangulation law went into effect, making it and suffocation a felony. Well, some new information from the State House tonight after this Ohio lawmaker was arrested for a second time in a domestic violence case. Republican Representative Bob Young has been stripped of his leadership position in the House. Young represents the Summit County area in Northeast Ohio and was arrested for allegedly violating a protective order. This was after he was accused of hitting his wife, throwing her phone into a pool to stop her from calling 911. In a previous statement, Young said he didn't believe his actions were criminal and that he loves his family. A woman alive today, all thanks to a CPR training that she set up at her work. Stacy Parks works for Jeff Weiler in Louisville. She passed out, but a coworker who took the class was able to save her life. Paige Barnes shows us how the employee jumped into action.
Stacy Parks brought in the American Heart Association after learning only one person in the building knew how to use an AED. Little did she know that training would save her life. Her coworker, Ian Cooney, was one of 8 employees who stayed after work to learn CPR. The training took place in March, and 4 months later, Parks went into cardiac arrest at work. Cooney thought Parks was going through heat stroke. First responders told her Parks might not be alive had she not stepped in.
And he said, like, well, you just saved her life. So by putting the AED on her and the CPR and everything, and that's kind of when I broke down and I was like, oh my God, like this is unreal.
In Cincinnati, I'm Paige Barnes.
Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Sky Cam now. It is another nice night out there tonight, but get ready for those warmer temperatures.
Well, a little cool out here in our Watson's weather patio for now, but we have a big warm up on the way. I've been tracking 90s by next week. So we got into the mid 70s today. 76 was our high, but by tomorrow, mid 80s back into the area, which is close to normal for this time of the year. But we climb well above normal by next week. Our highs are going to be back up into the low 90s and an overall warm trend as we start off the month of September. unfortunately feeling more like summer. There's our temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, indicating above normal temperatures pretty likely for our area through much of next week.
A downtown Dayton high school announcing it is expanding the building they just acquired and what they plan on doing with it next. And Ghost Light Coffee opening a new location in downtown Dayton. What officials are saying about the significance of that new spot. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. Champaign and Logan High School in downtown Dayton expanding its campus. School leaders acquired the former Terminal Cold Storage Dayton Frozen Solutions building on Eaker Street. Now the property sits next to Emmanuel Church and expands the size of the school's campus from 18.5 acres to over 20. The school now plans to shift its focus to securing funding for the demolition of the building because in its current form it's not eligible for renovation. An awards ceremony tonight for local black-owned businesses to wrap up Black Business Month. The event designed to highlight people and businesses making strides in the community. The goal tonight was to recognize those who run community-favored businesses and to inspire young entrepreneurs.
We want to make sure that we recognize those individuals and bring notoriety to them because they've been doing these, having these businesses and being great entrepreneurs in our community for years to come. And so we want to make sure that we celebrate them and their successes.
The Greater West Dayton Incubator offers services to all entrepreneurs in the area who may need a little bit of help. You can sign up for their programs and services at thegwdi.com. The historic Dayton Arcade's latest restaurant, now open in the downtown area. Gather by Ghostlight is a new cafe concept that wants to align with European culture. Wants to combine the social and community spirit of the morning coffee house with the later afternoon hour. Ghostlight officials are telling us what it means to be in the arcade.
The arcade has such a rich history that we are so proud to be a part of, because everyone has a connection and association with the arcade if you're from Dayton. So, to see this space revitalized and for us to be a part of it is super humbling, and we're proud to be here.
Now, the new cafe features brunch, lunch, small plate creations, breakfast and pastries. Guests can expect a traditional espresso bar, slow bar, regular and zero-proof beer, plus wine and spirits. Ghostlight already operates 2 coffee shops in Dayton. Well, that is week 3 of Thursday Night Lights. How the Troy Trojans were able to pull out a win against the Butler Aviators. Those highlights, they're next. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.